What's up, guys? Okay, so today I'm going to be showing you a game I played against someone who is pretty much the same rating as me. He's 722, I'm 720, as you can see down in the left. And we're going to see how I kind of punish him for being too aggressive early game. So he plays the move of e4 as the opening. I go ahead and play Alkine's defense. I like Alkine's defense right now. It's working for me a lot as black instead of playing the Caro-Kann, so I started playing that recently. He plays, which Alkine's defense is playing the f6 knight after the e4 pawn. He plays the c3 knight. I go ahead and play the Scandinavian variation, which is just elaborate Scandinavian defense, and I just play my pawn up to d5. He pushes, which isn't a bad move, but then I push, which is just a big trade. Pretty much the Scandinavian is if he was to take here, I take, he takes, and I bring my queen out. And that's the completed Scandinavian Alkine's defense. But he didn't do that. What he did was he played forward. I played forward. Then he brings the knight out to put me in check. I bring my bishop out to see if he wants to trade. And that's when we just began trading pieces. He brought his out because which is a good move, because if I was to take the bishop now, he would take with the pawn, opening up his a file, which is not something I want to do because that's very bad later on. So instead, what I did was just went ahead and captured the pawn. He captured my pawn, and then we started to develop naturally. He moved it back here. I moved my bishop out to attack his bishop. Pretty much we're developing at this point. Nothing's really getting attacked. I actually blundered a pawn there. And this is when I said he's starting to become really aggressive early, throwing his pieces pretty far out. So I wanted to push him back. I go ahead and defend. He moves back. So this is where he was moving way too far into my territory without looking at where his setup was. Because of his setup, he didn't move his queen at all yet. And he was very out into my territory. So what I did was I moved my bishop to pin his knight to his queen. And since I already moved this here, because my goal was, I guess I should have set it back here when I moved, my rook over was to target this weak pawn. The way he defended against that was castling, which was good. But then I moved my queen up and out, not being attacked. If he would go here, I would just simply like slide over or something, which is what I do later on. I defend, he goes back out. Now, since I pin this here, he doesn't have a lot of choices. I don't think he knew that, because if he goes here, I just take and then takes later on. But then I can still have this file opened up. So he does attack my queen, which is a really bad move. I go way over here, like I said earlier, and really now he has... His option was to move the knight out or trade it before I put my queen here. Reason being is, let's say I put my queen here and he just moves his knight or something. Whoops, let's go back. So let's say it's here. Beforehand, he like moves his knight out. I would just take, and it's really bad for him. Let's say he goes ahead and pushes this pawn. I take, he takes. I would take. He can't take with this pawn, which is why he's actually in a really bad position, is because he put the king on the same file as my rook by castling. And because of this, now he can't take. So he kind of delays this, thinking this would go a different way. I don't know if he even saw all of that. So what actually happened was I put the bishop there. I slid my queen over because if he didn't want to take, what I was going to do is just slide my rook over and then just checkmate him by putting my queen here. But instead, he went ahead and pushed the pawn, which is just mate in 3, I think. I push over to get that. He takes, forgetting that I can take. So this is what actually happened during the game. And of course, like I said, he can't take because he's pinned by my rook. And at this point, I'm pretty sure this is where he resigns. He does, because let's say he tries, there's no way to get out of this mate in 1 if I move my queen up right now. He can try to do this. Either way, I do this. Actually, that's not a bad choice. If he, no, because that wouldn't work. Because as soon as he does that, I do this, and then if he tries to push this, then I'll have to do something like this. Then he could do this, and then he doesn't really have anything to go off of because he can't move this here. He can't really. I mean, it's mate in one at this point. No matter where he moves, I could just move here the next point. So yeah, no, that was like the longest, I think, line of that. He saw this after we did this exchange, and he FF'd. He FF'd. There's no way to defend off of this. I think this is another option, because if he does this, then I can't go in here because it gets blocked here. And if that's the case, I would just start developing naturally. I'd probably start backing my pieces off and start going for these weak pawns. I'd try to fork him on the back rank, but pretty much after he saw this, he FF'd. He surrendered. He realized he missed this pawn being pinned, and he couldn't do it. So this is just one of the games where showing that if they do try to be, like, he put a pawn here, or he took a pawn, which typically is really good, but what he did was he missed me setting this up, where I was going to move this like over here, then move this over, but I was going to have to move my guy up and then over. There's a whole lot of other moves, but since he did this, it took the pawn out of the way anyway. And then it was easy for me just to pin this, because instead of developing his pieces, he went ahead and started taking my pieces without finishing his development. So this is just one way that could kind of bite you and just reminds you, just develop a little bit. Okay, you can still attack later on. If you have these ideas, fine. Just develop first, because he has stacked pawns here, a hanging pawn. Well, it's not hanging, but a solo pawn island over here. Stacked pawns here, and this one hasn't even moved off the queen file yet. I mean, even if you just did this, then you were able to push this. He could have, I think, won this game if he kept nickel and diming my material instead of getting one material early on and allowing me to go for other ideas really early in the game that kind of led to him losing. So just one way. If you're not already, go ahead and hit the like button. Smash that subscribe button if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video.